There's something about the quiet moments that happens when someone you love is gone. The way a Tuesday morning can feel like a foreign country, or how a song on the radio can stop everything in its tracks. Maybe you're listening to these words while driving somewhere alone, or maybe you've sat through another evening where grief feels like the heaviest thing your shoulders have ever carried. I want you to know that right now, wherever you are and whatever weight you're holding onto, you are not as alone as grief sometimes makes you feel. I'm glad you clicked on this video. Or if you stumbled here by accident, maybe something brought you exactly where you need to be today. Because what we're going to talk about together isn't a quick fix or a neat little bow tied around pain. It's deeper than that. It's the honest truth that there is actually something sacred hidden inside of grief, and discovering it won't happen overnight, but it might just change how you understand yourself for the rest of your life. Let me be clear about something most people don't want to say out loud. Grief changes us. Not in a way we can predict or control, but in a way that actually matters. The person who walked into this world before whatever loss has happened is not exactly the same person walking through it now. That's not a tragedy, though I won't pretend otherwise. Sometimes that transformation feels like being reshaped by forces too large to understand. And sometimes, slowly, you begin to notice something unexpected happening within the reshaping itself. I think about this often when people tell me they feel guilty for feeling anything other than sadness after loss. As if grief has a schedule we should all be keeping, as if there's supposed to be some perfect formula for honoring what we've lost while also living forward. But here's what I've learned sitting with people through their deepest seasons. The things that survive loss don't always die quietly in our chest. Sometimes they grow roots where pain once lived. Think about this for a moment. When someone you love leaves, what happens next becomes part of your story even though it wasn't written by either of you alone. Grief forces us to ask questions we normally avoid. What actually matters? How do I want to spend my days? Who am I when everything that defined me has been stripped away? These aren't philosophical exercises. They're invitations disguised as suffering, and most of us don't recognize them until years later. I know some of you are carrying loss so fresh it still feels like a wound. Some of you have carried this for years and just haven't found your way to the other side yet. Both of those realities deserve deep respect. There is no wrong timeline here, no competition between who grieves harder or longer or more beautifully. What matters is simply that we keep showing up, even when showing up means staying in bed most days, or calling someone and not knowing what else to say, or sitting with a photo on your phone for exactly 3 minutes before putting it away. Because here's where I want us to go together. There's a gift hidden in grief that only reveals itself if we don't rush past it. Not the kind of gift you unwrap quickly and set aside until next Christmas. The kind that grows inside you like something alive, like seeds planted after fire, or roots finding their way through cracked earth toward water they've never touched before. The first part of this gift is simply the deepening of your own capacity to feel. Grief strips away so much of what we normally use as armor. Distractions, busy schedules, small talk that keeps us comfortable but distant from ourselves and each other. And what's left underneath is something raw and honest. You're learning how deeply you love because someone you loved was taken from your life. That isn't weakness. It's actually a kind of courage that most people never develop without losing someone first. When I look at the people who have done the most meaningful work in my own life, the ones who've built businesses that help others or written books that changed how we think about difficult things or simply shown up with steady presence to friends going through their darkest seasons, so many of them share one quiet detail. Somewhere inside their story is a moment where loss became the beginning of something rather than just an ending. Not because they chose pain over joy, but because they refused to let pain have the final word. I know what you might be thinking right now. How can grief possibly teach me anything? And I'm going to tell you exactly why it matters that you ask this question. Because asking it means your heart hasn't closed up completely, and that's actually a sign of strength, not failure. Grief doesn't have the answers. You'll find those yourself, slowly and privately over time. But grief does give us access to truths we couldn't reach any other way. Think about what happens when someone dies in your life. You suddenly understand why you should call your mother more often. Why some days need to be slower than others. Why forgiveness matters more than being right. How much of the small stuff we worry about doesn't actually matter at all. This isn't some cliché I'm reciting back to you from a greeting card. This is real, and it's happening in your life whether you name it or not. There's another part of this gift that most people don't talk about enough. Grief gives us the ability to show up differently for other people. The person who has walked through loss can sit beside someone else going through their own pain without trying to fix it, without offering advice they wouldn't take themselves, without making it about them. That quiet presence, sitting with someone in their dark hours, knowing what it's like to carry weight they'll never see, is a kind of ministry that only grief makers can offer. Comes from experience, not theory. I remember once talking with someone who had lost her daughter to an illness that took her far too young. She told me that for years she couldn't even look at pictures without falling apart. And then slowly something shifted. Not the pain went away, but somehow it became part of what made her stronger instead of just heavier. And when people came to her with their own struggles, infertility, marriage problems, depression, she didn't try to give them advice about what she should have done differently or how God would fix things in this version of a story that was already written. She just sat beside them and let them cry while saying sometimes, "I know." That's the kind of presence grief gives us when we're willing to learn from it instead of trying to outrun it. Now I want you to consider something important. Transformation doesn't mean forgetting. Some people make a terrible mistake by telling each other that healing means moving on and never thinking about what happened again. That's not true. We carry our losses with us, and that carrying is actually sacred. What changes isn't the love. We don't stop loving someone because they're gone. What changes is how we relate to their absence over time. The sharp edges soften. The memories become less like wounds and more like invitations to remember who we were before loss and who we've become since. There's a word I keep coming back to when I think about this journey. Purpose. Not the kind of purpose you find in some self-help book with bullet points and 3-week timelines, but something deeper. Something that grows inside you slowly like an old tree growing rings around years of weather it survived. Purpose after loss doesn't mean forgetting what was taken from us. It means discovering who we're becoming because of what happened to us. Maybe your purpose is to keep talking about things most people pretend don't exist anymore. Maybe it's to honor someone by living more boldly than they could have imagined for themselves. Maybe it's simply learning how to love yourself with the same fierce tenderness you showed them. Purpose isn't always dramatic or famous or publicly celebrated. Sometimes it looks like waking up one morning and deciding that today, I'm going to live differently because someone else can no longer do so. I want to be honest with you about something I've seen in my own life. Sometimes we use grief as an excuse not to move forward, and other times we try to force ourselves too quickly into the light. Both of those things are human, and both deserve compassion. The truth is that healing isn't linear. It's more like a spiral where we revisit the same questions at higher levels over time. Some days you'll feel like you've made progress, while other days will surprise you with how much work remains. Neither reality means failure. They just mean you're human, carrying something real. Here's what I want you to remember as we near the end of our time together. You don't have to earn your grief by suffering enough or proving yourself worthy somehow. The pain is already a gift in its own right because it tells us that love was real, that someone mattered enough to be missed, that something beautiful once existed in your life that deserves acknowledgement, even when words fail you completely. Grief itself is proof of how much we're capable of loving, and that capacity doesn't disappear just because the person has left. It stays with us. It grows inside us into something we can offer others who are hurting right now without being asked for it. That's a kind of generosity most people never learn until they've been through their own version of what you're going through today. I have one last thing I want to say, and it might be the simplest but also the truest. Whatever loss has shaped your life, let it shape you gently rather than harshly. Let it soften some edges while strengthening others. Give yourself permission to grieve in your own language, in prayers if that's yours, or in walks through nature where wind can sometimes feel like a friend, or in letters written and never sent but still meaningful for being written at all. Or maybe you just sit with the silence until something inside you finally breathes again. What matters most is simply that we don't let pain have the final word about who we are supposed to become. Because grief does not get to decide your ending, it only gets to influence how you walk forward into whatever comes next. And walking forward doesn't mean forgetting what was precious in your life. It means discovering something new inside yourself because of it. a deeper capacity for love, a more honest understanding of what matters most, and the kind of presence that can actually help someone else through their own darkest hours. So wherever you are right now, whether this video found you today or years from now when grief feels older than you expected, I hope you carry something with you as you close it. The quiet confidence that your pain isn't meaningless, even if meaning hasn't arrived yet. And I hope you know that the person who walks out of whatever season you're in right now will not be exactly who you were before loss, but they might just become someone more alive than most people ever have a chance to be. Thank you for listening to me today, for showing up even when showing up felt hard, and for trusting, if only for these few minutes together, that there's something sacred waiting inside whatever you're carrying right now. I believe in your capacity to find it, not because life is always fair or pain ever makes perfect sense, but because human beings have a remarkable way of turning what breaks them into something they can actually give back to the world when the time comes. Whatever you do next, take care of yourself with the same fierce tenderness that brought you here today, and keep moving forward, slowly if you must, but steadily enough for grief's greatest gift to eventually find its way out of hiding and into your hands.